Hi everyone, my name is Chris Martin. Welcome to Keto with me. It is day 147 on my journey back into keto. If you're new to my channel, check out my day 0 video where I talk about the reasons of why I created this video series. All right, let's roll the clip. All right, let's talk about week 21. That's days 141 through 147 and how it went. You're gonna probably see some interesting things. Well, you'll probably see more on the goals, but just because I called out a couple things. But man, it was a really tough, not tough, I shouldn't say tough. It was really interesting and presented a couple of challenges. So let's get into the weight loss first. That is, I lost 1.4 pounds. That's a little less than I normally lose, but hey, headed in the right direction. So that puts me at 62 pounds lost so far, and that puts me at a weight of 172.4. This close to the 160s. Can't wait to get there. My food is actually based on 6 days. We'll get to that in a minute. Why it's not 5 days, because I usually do a 72-hour fast, but we'll get to that in a moment. My average fat intake is 176 grams for those 6 days, 22 grams of carbs. Yes, you heard right. An average over 20. I'm used to being below that. And an average protein of 100. So that get in my macro percentage average for those 6 days were 77% fat, 4% protein, 4% carb, and then 19 protein. So, I mean, those are good numbers. In the end, like I said, weight loss, good numbers. And then, we're going to talk about the blood right now because those are looking really well also. So my blood glucose average for all 7 days of week 21 was 77. That is awesome. Previously, the average was 79 for the previous week. 2.3 on the ketones was my average for those 7 days, and the average the previous week was 2. So, I went up in my ketones for that. That's really good. Dr. Bob's ratio was 35 for this week, and then last week it was 47. Everything going in the right direction. My GKI averaged 2 this week, and then the previous week was 2.6. So all really, really good numbers. Now, let's talk about why I made, why I said the week was interesting. So this was the week that, my wife and I went up to do our open water certification for scuba. So we knew that Saturday and Sunday was going to be different, like as far as the amount of because you could count that as exercise, because although I didn't list it on my goals that way, it is a lot of work. If anybody's done that, they'll tell you it's a lot of work. So we did that. So you'll see that, my, my fasting numbers for that particular, day, I broke my fast early. And the reason is because when we were in between dives, you're like, you're just exhausted. So, I went ahead and started, eating some pecans and peanuts, I think it was like 2 o'clock or somewhere right there, which is much earlier. I usually, do one meal a day and I'm at like 5. So we did eat later. We all went out, and got, to a steakhouse and stuff, which, and we'll get, we'll look at that more on the goals, where you'll see kind of like the spike in carbs and protein and just sheer amount of actually food for one thing. So overall, I feel really good about the week. When we got back Monday, I actually felt good while I was there, even though I kept exhausting myself and then refueling. But when we got back on that Monday, it was like zombie. I mean, I was just drained. And that's when I started my 72-hour fast. Well, I started my 72-hour fast on Sunday. Again, felt great. Not really, terrible, because I was eating and so forth. Well, come Monday at like, around 4 o'clock, I was just like, wow, I can't do this. I'm just too far sideways. And this, folks, is one reason why I don't like to exercise during the entire time. Like, I'm not doing an exercise regimen the entire time that I'm doing it. It's not just to prove that you can completely lose it, by, what you put in your mouth, but it also has to do with, I know how my body is. If I expend that much energy, I got to put fuel back in, and not all, I'm not going to, even when I get, where I need to be when I start exercising, I'm not putting a, ton of carbs back in. I'm going to find a nice median, but my point is I just couldn't do it. I mentally wasn't there. So I broke my fast, on Monday, and then my thought was like, all right, I'll try to salvage this and see if I can turn it into a 48 instead. And that's exactly what I did. I turned it into a 48. So I started my 48 on Monday, after I ate, and then carried that until the first day of, week 22. So instead of doing a 72, I just pivoted and it worked out great. So real quick on the meals for that week, just because I talked a lot already so far. We had, chicken stir fry, we had salmon patties and salad, we had meatloaf and green beans, we had steak and salad, when we were, at the, like up out of town. And then on Sunday when we got back, I did manage to stay, and wait until the evening to eat on that one. We just ate leftovers, whatever was in the fridge. I think there were some salmon patties and salad and, some miscellaneous stuff. So you'll see that on the picture, but that means I also ate Monday. So on Monday, we ate, taco salad. So overall, I consider that to be a very successful week. It was a very good learning experience, a good reminder of like why I don't do the exercise during it. And, I think that's all good. So let's get on to the goals. So the goals for week 21, if you, watched the previous segment where I talked about the clip and stuff, you'll know that we had this, scuba weekend where we got our certifications and stuff and how exhausting it was and, and so forth. So, looking across the board, from top to bottom on the spreadsheet here, is that you'll see that the sleep is pretty much like it's always been, about 8 hours sleep, uninterrupted, doing fantastic there. So drop down to the fasting, you'll see, overall, 22.8 hours average for the week. That's still really good, but if you peek and you kind of look at, Saturday and Sunday. Actually, I didn't think I broke my fast that early on Sunday, but apparently I did. Oh no, it had to do with how late I ate the second time on day 144. So anyway, let's stay on track. Sorry, I did eat mostly clean, just as always. So all good there with some sprinkles of dirty. My average carbs is a little higher than I'm used to. I'm usually in 20 or below, almost always below as an average, but you'll see that on day 144, which is Saturday, I want to say June 24th, 2023, just so you guys, again, I'm trying to give you the, this is happening now, it just happened like 4 or 5 days ago. And so that, my carbs are like 35.2. What happened there, Chris? Did you just fall off the rails? No, I didn't fall off the rails. I just had, when I broke my fast in between dives, I ate a bunch of like pecans and peanuts, keto stuff. And then when we ate later, we went to like Texas Roadhouse and we got steak, and they bring peanuts, and you have the salad, and you have and those carbs just add up. So at the end of it, I had 35.2 carbs. Now I also had a megaton of fat too, so that day was really high. So you'll see that my fat macros there for that day are 77, 4, and 19. That tells you that even though I ate a lot, I still kept my keto macro percents, where I needed them to be. I just, ate more carbs. And the whole point about mentioning this is that it didn't slow me down. It didn't like make me go, all right, I'm done with, I'm done with trying to keep the carbs low. It's just what happens on one of those days. Now, will I do that once I start exercising? It's probably not going to be 35 carbs. I really honestly don't know. Once I start to figure out where I can bring my carb levels back up and stay keto and, and maintain and do exercise and stuff like that, that's where I'll live. But that is for another video, 6, 7, 8 weeks from now. So, but overall, numbers look pretty good. I did adjust my, OKGGB, rating for carbs because I, essentially blew my goal, but I still maintained what I needed to do. Overall, everything else going good, learning, still doing audiobooks, still tracking, still meditating a couple times a day. Probably you could arguably say on those scuba days that I meditated more because I just kind of went and sat in a chair and was like, in between. So it's a very good exercise. I now know why my brother likes it a lot, and it's very fun. I mean, it's just very, very, very fun. So no exercise, folks. And that does it for the goals for week 21. My final thought for week 21, I think it's just simple. It makes sense. What I'm going to say here, that you can make anything work. Including like the situation I had over the weekend. Doing those open water certifications for my scuba. I knew going into it. That's why I had, pecans and peanuts and stuff packed ahead of time. I already had scoped out where, the hotel was versus the, the steakhouse, and, and already, my wife and I already had that planned. And then of course, the people we were with, 2 other people are doing, keto. So it's like everybody's on board. So, that was well planned. So, plan, don't freak out when you have to do something like I did and you go higher. You just go right back to what you're doing. And like I said, I pivoted on my fast for that week. I went from 72 to 48 just because, that's how it goes. I couldn't handle it. Well, I shouldn't say I couldn't handle it. I handled it is really what I did. All right, that's it for day 147, also known as week 21. Thanks for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe so you can keto with me. As always, if you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to leave them down below. Just remember, nobody's perfect. Be a coach, not a critic, and take care.